Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and today is the 19th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. It's hard to believe that this much time has passed, and it is heartbreaking to me that the criminals, the international intelligence operation that was 9/11, the true betrayers, have never been brought to justice. And that to many, it's almost cartoon and comic-like that people actually believe that not only our government could be involved, but other governments could be involved. And this could be covered up by the media, military, industrial complex. Now, later today, I'm going to have the author of this, A Comprehensive History of Loose Change and the Seeds It Planted in Our Politics. 15 years ago, 3 young men created a 9/11 conspiracy theory film that laid the groundwork for our culture of outrageous misinformation. So what I find very ironic in this, and obviously I'm going to be bringing this up with the author, is that the article is not about 9/11. Okay, let me tell you what it's not about before we get into the one fact of 9/11 that they get just egregiously wrong, and I'll disprove it here. They don't get into the fact that Max Cleland, okay, one of the commissioners, actually resigned from the commission, telling the American people it was a scam, it was a setup, okay, that the 9/11 Commission was a fraud before they came out with their final report. Okay? Now, I actually played that video for him, and I have that recorded with a tape. I don't know if we're ever going to release the recordings of John and myself for this interview. I will say this, he did not misquote me in it. But at the same time, that's not even discussed. It's not what this is about. Okay? It's not about Joe Biden and others covering up the Pakistani money roll, okay, in 9/11, the $100,000 wire transfer to Atta from General Mahmoud Ahmed, a guy who's in D.C. meeting with all these prominent people on the morning of 9/11, no less. People like Bob Graham and Porter Goss, the guys that will initiate the first investigation into 9/11, the Congressional Review. And remember that Porter Goss will later become the head of the CIA. Now, during the week, Ahmed, who's the head of the ISI, which is basically an arm of intelligence, this international intelligence operation I talk about, you know, from the 70s on, the ISI worked closely with U.S. intelligence and Osama bin Laden. We document that in both Fabled Enemies and Invisible Empire. But this article is not about any of that stuff. Okay? It's not about that network. It's not about the fact that the guy that actually facilitated the payment from Mahmoud Ahmed, okay, to Muhammad Atta, lead hijacker, right, is now free and, you know, has all these intelligence connections and was actually convicted of the beheading and murder of who? Daniel Pearl, a journalist who was looking into the funding of terrorism way back in the day. That original beheading video. The guy is free. No one's talking about the guy who's running for president, and we're going to play this clip for him too later on. Joe Biden also helped cover that up and bragged about meeting General Mahmoud Ahmed in the days after 9/11, saying he was the first or second most powerful man in that country. All these are, you know, stark contrasts to the official narrative. That's not what this article is about. I mean, if you think about it, the funding coming from Pakistan, okay, I also have a video that Dan Rather, I believe this was in January 2002, came out in CBS News, and they said, look, on the eve of 9/11, the Pakistani military was protecting bin Laden in a hospital. They tell you they found bin Laden in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Pakistan has never been a focus of the war on terror. The most he'll go into 9/11 and questioning anything at the end, and this is not the one fact that, you know, I'm going to dispute and show you that is completely wrong, and how dare they portray us as misinformation when they're putting out the real tropes and misinformation, but we'll illustrate that later. never had that happen. They talk about the Saudi Arabian connection. Obviously, that financial connection is there. But so is the connection between the FBI and somebody like Khalid al-Mihdhar. Okay, so you do have Saudi Arabian funding, you do have Pakistani funding, but then you have protection by the FBI. No one wants to talk about the James Woods testimony and the fact that these guys were doing dry runs and protected once they were reported. Again, James Woods named al-Mihdhar and I believe Sawaf al-Hamzi as two hijackers. He couldn't name the other two, but he didn't want to go with uncertainty to the FBI post 9/11 that he had done this with a pilot and a stewardess, and they had all filed reports, and it went to the FBI in August. That's something no one wants to talk about. Okay, this is not about the Israeli operatives that were caught that day and the FBI documentation that came out in the last, I believe it's 18 to 24 months through an FOIA request, and they were highly redacted, including their faces, including the color photos. Whether or not there was video, we'll never know. Okay? But it's certainly not about Amdocs, Comverse. Instead, there is that quick swipe that, some of these conspiracy theories are anti-Semitic. So it's not about that. But what it is about, when they decided that they were going to take, one swipe with authoritative sources. And here's the thing. He contacted me a few days ago and said they were fact-checking this. Okay, so I'm going to just hit Control F. And James Meggs, there he is, Jim Meggs. Now, he is somebody I actually debated. They talk about that debate, okay? And they talk about Flight 93, okay? So, they talk about some of the other people that we influenced, etc. But I want to get to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and Indian Lake. So let's go Indian Lake. We do it live. Thumbs this video up. So here it is, okay? There's the debunking 9/11 myths. Guys, this is 19 years after the attack, and they're still... This is the misinformation, and I'm going to show it to you just, boom, in your face. Popular Mechanics reporters talked to experts from the Federal Aviation Administration, the National Transportation Safety Board, and the Air National Guard, the New York State Emergency Management Office, and the Somerset County Coroner. The collective evidence invalidated the conspiracy narrative. Now remember, these guys put this thing out before we even had the NORAD tapes that confirmed that the drills went on for, I believe it was another 20 minutes after Flight 93 was downed. That's something that no one ever wants to discuss. Okay, running out of Cheyenne Mountain. Oh, they took again, I present real documentation. They just say they did an investigation. And this is how piss poor it is. There was an engine part found 300 yards of the crash site. Okay, which is perfectly reasonable for an aircraft traveling more than 700 feet per second. Paper scraps of sheet metal were found nearby at Indian Lake, but that was 1.5 miles from the crash site, not 6, and in line with the wind direction that day. So I'm not even going to talk about the second aircraft. You can clearly see that this is north of Shanksville. They're talking about this. The small amount of wreckage is entirely plausible once you realize how planes crash. So again, they contend it is 1.5 miles away. This is the magic trick. They did this in the History Channel. They continue to do this, okay? So this propaganda has gone from this book that came out, I believe, in 2004, 2005, along with the article, the History Channel in 2006, and now it has made it into 2020, embarrassingly for these people, okay? So it's not hard. You just do a little New Baltimore, 9/11, United 93. Here's some videos, right? I looked through that, but what I was able to find is very simple, okay? This man here, he has a piece. New Baltimore is over a mountain ridge from 8 miles away. It is not Indian Lake. And you can clearly see, where is she? Did I not? This, oh, here it is. Okay. So look, crash site, engine, debris. Okay. Crash site, engine, debris. But if you see where my head is, you see where New Baltimore is? Debris. Oh, now we have an 8-mile spread. Okay? And this is what I was looking for. So if you come down here, I'll get rid of the other one, right? Or did they just take this down? What happened here? This is a woman who found papers from that thing 8 miles away in New Baltimore. All right? And just so everybody understands, I'm going to play him the CNN clip that confirms this. I have it. It's in Loose Change Final Cut. And I think 9/11 p.m. tonight is when we're going to kick off the watch along of all of Loose Change Final Cut together. Okay? But I just want to point this out. Where is she? Control F. There we go. Here it is. The village of New Baltimore is a dozen or more miles by automobile, but 8 as the wind blows, which it was doing a year ago. Melanie Hankinson was at the church. That was her with those papers. Okay, next to her home, transfixed before a television that showed the World Trade Center ablaze. When the man who sprays the lawn stopped to tell her he was finding odd things in the weeds, he said there was a loud bang and smoke, and then these papers started blowing through your yard. I said, oh. Then I went back to the TV. Then the parish priest, Reverend Alan Zen, told her an airplane had crashed in Shanksville. So do you get it? Okay? That it's an 8-mile debris field. And that is the only factoid they use in this article to illustrate how absurd my opinions are. It's not my opinion. Do you understand? So I'm not authoritative content. So now that fact has made its way through, okay, Jimmy Meggs, David Dunbar, the guys behind the Popular Mechanics article. Meggs is the editor, so he's the end-all be-all. Still, propagating lies. How many years later? How many years later, Jim? I hope you can sleep at night, dude. I mean, do you realize the implication of your lie? I'm going to give the author, a pass because he just didn't fact check. He just wants to believe this narrative. But Esquire, so it gets passed again. All of Popular Mechanics, the author of this article, John McDermott, and Esquire magazine. Where's the fact check, Esquire? See, they don't fact check the authoritative sources. They amplify it. Okay, they amplify the lie. And that's why we have to push even harder than ever. And if you don't think I'm going to bring all of this up with John on air, you bet I am. And I like the guy. He's a nice guy. But the truth of the matter is, if you're going to write, basically a hit piece trying to say that everything I've said is wrong, okay, and that somehow truther culture and misinformation comes from us, when in fact, I'll say this, they talk about, us at truther gatherings. There was no such thing. We released Loose Change Final Cut at the end of 2007, in November. The term truther, the earliest media find I can do in the news anywhere, I think is either April. Late April, Trig Truthers. Okay? And I don't even know, that, here it is, September 2000, the conspiracy nuts take over. So we're talking about at least a year plus after the release of our stuff. See, and Kay, he's interviewed in this, Among the Truthers. This is from 2011. I challenge Kay to ever come on my program and debate me on the facts of 9/11. Any of these guys. I'll go on theirs. Anything live, please. So we can talk about relevant issues and your magic trick. And why your magic trick doesn't work anymore. Yet we have more and more and more and more and more censorship through your big tech technopoly. Guys, if you like the video, thumbs it up, subscribe and share. It's a rough day. You reflect on this stuff and you reflect on how hard you've worked to try to get the truth out to people. And that's just one small issue, Flight 93. If they can lie to you about that so openly and brazenly 19 years later, think about how much more they lie to you. But the facts aren't the facts anymore in 2020. We're living in COVID 1984. And what you just heard is harmful content. We're fully demonetized here. I need your support now more than ever. We're almost halfway through the month. I guess not quite. It's the 11th. So more than about a third of the way through the month. And we're only at $7.10. I'd love to get, to a better place. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. I'm going to be on Adam Kokesh's program in 15 minutes. Apparently, they pulled his live streaming ability from YouTube. So Adam versus the Man, I do want you guys to check that out. We are going to do a full-on watch-along with Loose Change Final Cut tonight at 9:11 p.m. Eastern. That's when it kicks off. Get ready for it. We've got the author of that article coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern, so in a couple hours. And then we also have Dylan Avery on at 6 as kind of a retrospective for everything. But if you don't know what really happened on 9/11, you got questions, you're new to the channel, Loose Change Final Cut and Fabled Enemies are must-watches. They are must-watches to get a better understanding of what's really going on in this world, and that has been. Remember, if they do kick me off the platform, Rockfin's where it's at. And the Kokesh interview, I think I'm going to be putting up for free, at least for a little while, and then make it premium. I'll put it up there for like 48 hours for free over here as well, exclusively on Rockfin. So go create a free account and follow me over there, because once again, if I get kicked off of YouTube, this is where I'm going to be all the time. And premium members, thank you so much for supporting me over there. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you're thumbing the video up on your way out, subscribing and sharing, join the Burmist Brigade. And remember, it's truth over treason, baby. It's not Republican, Democrat, left, right. The silence on this issue continues to be deafening and defining of this country, and why we are as far down in tyrannical behavior and thought in this country right now. I love you guys, and I will see you all on the flip side.